Back with Dylan Lindenkamp, Harper Homes. Thanks for coming back up here.
Yeah, good to see you, Mark.
Mark with Loan Depot. And we're going to talk about lateral sewer, right? Lateral sewer and inspections and costs to replace and what the hell is lateral sewer?
Yeah.
Right? So for a brand new home buyer, and they're going to go buy a house such as this built in the 30s, what kind of concerns would they have, or would you want to kind of address with them when it comes to the lateral sewer that we're going to actually look at here in a second? So why don't you lay it all out, why is it important, and so on.
Yeah, so for starters, most people don't know, so your lateral sewer pretty much is, it's your pipe that runs from your home all the way to the city connection, and that's what's carrying all your wastewater from toilets, sinks, all that kind of stuff. What a lot of homeowners aren't really aware of is they're responsible for that entire lateral. Most municipalities, so pretty much all the cities in our county, you're responsible from your home connection all the way to the city connection. So most people kind of think, oh yeah, once it runs outside my fence, no big, it's not my problem anymore. You're responsible for that entire connection. Now, with a home such as this, you know, what we're really looking for when it gets this old is the age, and it's really the two types of materials that it could be. There's, you know, 2 or 3. You could have clay, which they used for, you know, about 50 years around this time period. It comes in 4-foot sections, and it's just like, you know, any normal clay, like a clay pot. It comes in 4-foot sections. The problem with it is it's, you know, just like as clay is, it's very brittle. So any roots, any offsets that can happen, pretty much where it settles, and what happens is those 2 connection points get offset, and then debris can catch. The other kind of material it could be is cast iron. Now, cast iron's great because it's super durable, obviously. The one problem with cast iron is it rusts internally. So let's say you got a 4-inch diameter internal size. What happens is it gets scale buildup and it rusts, and so that slowly just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. So that interior diameter restricts on itself, and then that scale buildup can catch debris, be more prone to clogging, all that kind of stuff.
Kind of like a clogged artery.
Exactly. It's like a clogged artery. And then the big one that you got to watch out for, which is kind of like the death sentence, is what I call it for sewer lateral material. It's called Orangeburg. Now,
I've heard that term. What is that?
Yeah. So what this stuff is they manufactured it and installed it from about late 1930s to about 1972. By then they kind of figured it out that it wasn't a great material. So because of during World War II, they had to conserve metal, so they started developing Orangeburg, and pretty much I describe it as it's wood pulp. It's almost like a toilet paper tube that's tarred. So it's wood pulp, and it's tarred on the outside and the inside. Yes. So what happens is, over time, it just totally collapses and deforms from being in the ground. Usually the lifespan on it is about 30 to 50 years. I run across Orangeburg all the time, particularly in San Luis Obispo. That's actually why the city of SLO has their sewer lateral requirement at the point of sale, is because of Orangeburg. Because it fails, so it's not a matter of if it's going to fail, it's really when. And so they were having a lot of homes where the lateral was failing. It was kicking junk down into the city main, causing city main problems. And that's actually why they started implementing that in the city of SLO.
So they require, on every sale, they require an inspection?
Yes, so every sale, you are exempt, obviously, if it's been sold. I think it's within the last 10 years, and there's a inspection already on file. Or if the home's been built within the last 20 years, then you're exempt. But besides that, pretty much at the point of sale. And now, it doesn't mean that you have to repair anything. The city can't be like, hey, you have to repair it. They just want to know the condition of it. Makes sense. Yeah, that's a requirement at the point of sale.
Okay, and so those 3, you have the clay, you have cast iron, you have the Orangeburg. Those are no longer being used on new builds. What's used now? So now it's either ABS or PVC. So, you know, just your standard plastic drain pipe. Obviously, it's a lot more durable. It doesn't deteriorate. Now, it still can have its own problems. The 2 main things that you get are either, you know, someone plants a nice, beautiful big oak tree, and that sewer lateral runs right next to it, and that root comes in. Especially roots are looking for that water, that nutrients, and it damages the pipe. The other, sorry, Pep. That's all right.
The other thing the other thing you can get is what we call a belly. So pretty much when they trench a pipe, what they do is they lay sand in the bottom and they compact it down, and then it gives it a gradual grade. Now, if they don't compact that sand well enough, what will happen is you get settling. So you get a belly that develops. So instead of a slow, gradual grade, then what happens is it sinks down, so you'll see standing water in the pipe. So when you're going down, you'll see, okay, water's flowing, and then you get standing water in it, which can just, again, you know, when you have that belly, it just isn't draining as well and can be more prone to clogging, all that kind of
Gotcha.
stuff.
Okay. And worst case scenario is like if somebody is looking to buy a house and you do an inspection and the lateral sewer is just yikes, it needs to go.
Yeah.
Is there like a rough ballpark price range?
Yeah. So usually, you know, the two main factors are going to be whether it qualifies for trenchless technology or they have to dig it up. So trenchless pretty much is, they can do that on a lot of cast iron lines. Is what they do is they run a hydrojet through it and they clean all that scaling out. And then what they do is they pretty much pull the sleeve through it, and then the sleeve inflates and it pretty much relines it. So that's trenchless technology. That's kind of a newer type technology. That's going to be cheaper versus if they have to dig it up, you know, completely, because obviously a lot of your cost is in the labor of digging it up, 100%. Depending too if it's going underneath concrete. You know, if it's underneath the slab driveway, it's going to be a lot more cost. I usually tell people, you know, for sewer laterals, you want to plan for anywhere between probably 65, 7 on the low end to 15 on the high end. I mean, it definitely can go, it can definitely go up more than that for sure, but that's kind of a rough range. But obviously at that price point, that's why it's such a huge thing. People are always concerned about the roof because that can be 10, 15, 20 grand, but people don't really think about the sewer lateral of, hey, that can equally be as large of an expense.
Out of sight, out of mind, unless you have it looked at.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, I presume that can blow up a lot of real estate transactions, right? The seller
100%.
says, whoa, wait a minute, you want $15,000 out of my proceeds to pay for that? No way.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was actually just on an inspection the other day. Fortunately, it was a pre-listing inspection, so the seller and the listing agent hired me to come in and do it beforehand.
Great.
And it was in SLO. It was an Orangeburg lateral, was completely toast, needed to be replaced, which it didn't blow up the deal because they just, you know, adjusted the price accordingly. And, you know, hey, just so you guys know, plan on a $15,000 sewer lateral repair. And so that information's front loaded, so it's not blowing up the deal in the 23rd hour. It's like, hey, it needs to be replaced, just so you guys are aware.
Man, yeah, it drives home the point that maybe having the inspection done before you're even in contract makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
especially on these old houses.
Yeah, and that's something we're starting to see actually a lot more around here. That's kind of a Bay Area influence actually. Up in the Bay Area, you know, almost every house has sewer lateral inspection, termite inspection, and home inspection before it even goes to the market. So the last few years, with a lot of influx of those out-of-area buyers, a lot of these agents have kind of come down here and they're like, hey, where's your inspections? And they're like, oh, what do you mean? And they're like, well, what? You know, we kind of do home inspections backwards. People make the deal, get in contract, and then find what's wrong and negotiate instead of front loading and being like, hey, how about we figure this all out up front? Everyone knows what they're getting into. Escrows don't fall through that way.
Great advice. So, and your range, you're not just down in San Luis. You service the whole county, right?
Yes,
correct.
What's
your radius? So
all of San Luis Obispo County. So, you know, San Luis, Paso, out to the lake, all the way South County. And then I also service Santa Maria, Orchid, and then I do go out to Lompoc as well.
Awesome. Cool, man. Let's go take a look at, we're going to do a inspection of the sewer here and see if there's anything hiding in it. Hopefully there's not, but let's go find out, all right?
Sounds good.
Cool.